Hello, 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 and welcome back to yet another. Well, before we even get into all that, ask me why I'm in a good mood. Why in a good mood, Rod? For one, I'm in a great mood because I went to a Seahawks game today and I watched them blow the fuck out of the Atlanta Falcons. I know I got a few Falcon fans that watch this channel. I'm sorry, okay? Listen, that was basically a Seahawk takeover. It was like 40% Seahawks fans in there. It was pretty pathetic, to be honest, from the Falcons. But besides that, I'm happy off that. Why else am I happy? You know why I'm happy? Because it's mock draft season, baby. It is time officially to resume the mock drafts, the first mock draft on this channel for the 2025 cycle. Now listen, one could argue that mock drafts are the best part of this channel. I wouldn't disagree with you. I love doing them. I think it's a really good brain exercise, and I think it's a really good way to kind of think and see how every team in the league is doing, like what their plan is moving forward. So I like it for several reasons, but I know y'all like it as well. So thank you for watching. Let's hop straight into it here. My bad, just making sure I get it right for y'all. Making sure y'all can see everything. All right. So, as you can see right here, we are going to be doing every team, controlling every team, and I am going to edit the draft order just a little bit here. Um, the problem with doing a draft this early is that you don't really like the current standings. I do not think it's going to look like this at all by the end of the year. So I'm going to edit a few things around. Okay. So for number one, you got the Bengals with the top seven pick. I do not think the Bengals are going to be one of the seven worst teams in football. So I'm gonna a good amount. How well do I think they're gonna do? I'm gonna move them above the Cowboys right here. I think the Bengals are gonna finish strong. They always start off bad. I'm gonna move them above the Cowboys right there. What else? The Rams at five. Unless the Rams trade Cooper Cup or something like tragic happens, I think they're gonna pull their season back a little bit. So I'm gonna move the Rams up here to behind the Jets, above the Dolphins. What else? The Vikings just lost to the Lions, so I'll move the Vikings down below the Ravens. Vikings are good, but they're not on those teams low. And the Falcons lost too. I'll drop the Falcons just a little bit here. Okay. Uh, anything else I want to do? The Niners just lost. Do I move the Niners down? Niners lost here. Since the Niners just lost, I'll move them down by three, and I'll move the Seahawks up a couple so they're ahead of the Niners. Since I mean, we do have a better record than them technically right now. So I'll move the Seahawks just right above the Niners, and for my own little reasons, that makes me feel better. All right, so this is the order that I'm gonna do. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe my next draft I won't edit the draft order. So listen, there's gonna be a lot. So, all right, so you're gonna get to see every sort of scenario that there is. Let's do this, yo. I'm excited. All right, into the draft. Let's lock in here. Start draft. Okay, listen, the Patriots here. Obviously, they made the decision to go with Drake May. I think Drake May has looked good. He's looked way better, way more comfortable, for example, than Jacoby Brissett looked when he was back there at QB. So I think the Patriots have their quarterback situation figured out. And I'll go the analysis for every pick before I make my selection. I do not think it's going to be Travis Hunter. I don't think it's going to be any specialist type player here. Their receiver core has not been great, but their offensive line's been terrible. The problem is I really don't think there's an offensive lineman in this draft that's worth the draft. The Patriots are really in a bad position because there's no generational quarterbacks anyway. So like that's the usual thing that a team would draft with one overall pick. There's no there's no lineman that's worth drafting on either side of the ball with the number one overall pick. And the Patriots, they can't really trade out of this pick because I don't think any other team, maybe we could explore a scenario actually in the future where the Patriots trade out of this pick. But for now, I think the best move is to stick and pick here and draft an offensive lineman to protect Drake May for the long haul. Now, the question is, who would that guy be? From what I've heard, from one person, albeit, Will Campbell has short arms and his arms are too short to play tackle at the next level. I'm not sure if that's true 100%, but I've heard that from somebody. So I'm going to take that at face value and not double check that. Kelvin Banks would be my next guy that I look at here, but he just had a bad game against Georgia. I really don't know. The Patriots are in a really bad spot. I think it would benefit them to trade this pick. But if they're gonna stick and pick, I guess Kelvin Banks because I guess he just has the best. measurables to translate to the next level. The Patriots desperately need help at tackle. Listen, the Patriots, if that was the scenario, they probably would not feel great about the pick, and I don't blame you. But the number one concern with the entire franchise has to be protecting Drake May, and this pick does that. The Browns at number two. If you're not aware, um, Deshaun Watson just tore his Achilles, so he's done. I believe that's the last NFL game he will ever play. So now the Browns, 100%. I already was leaning this direction, but now it is 100%. They have to draft a quarterback. Don't get me wrong. Offensive line is also a desperate need for the Browns, but they can address that later in the draft. For now, it's quarterback. Now, the interesting thing here, what is this quarterback class? I'll break it down. In my eyes, there's a top, I don't even know. There's a top three, and then there's everybody else. The top three, without a shadow of a doubt, is Cam Ward as the QB1 of this class, undeniably. He has had the best season of any quarterback in the entire country, and it's not close. Shadur, I guess, is second, but Shadur has just, I honestly feel like he's played worse than he did last year, even though he has a better receiver core and a better run game and a better defense. It's really strange how it feels like Shadur he's definitely throwing more picks. He's fumbling more often, and it feels like he's doing way more dumb shit in terms of like intentional grounding, stuff like that. So Shadur actually has taken a slight step back for me in terms of my opinion on him. And then you got Jalen Milrow, who, if you haven't been keeping up with Alabama football, Jalen Milrow pretty much has played 14 straight bad quarters at Alabama. Besides one great throw to Ryan Williams to win the Georgia game, Jalen Milrow has been bad for the better part of a month now for Alabama. So he needs to step it up big time if he wants to be talked about in this type of conversation. So right now for me, Cam Ward by far and away is QB1 of this class, and he absolutely, I think, will go in the top five as it stands right now. So the Browns, with a new, sudden, desperate situation at quarterback, they draft Cam Ward at number two to come in and hopefully fix the Browns situation before it goes up in flames. But you could make the argument it's already up in frame. It's already up in flames, and their franchise is just disintegrating. Moving on, Jaguars at number three here. They don't need quarterback. Um, this is a specialist player. I don't think it has to be a receiver, even though you could make the argument the receiver core has not been very good this year. Um, the question for me is this offensive line with this pick, or is it a specialist, notably a cornerback? You guys see who the options here: Will Johnson, Travis Hunter, Will Campbell. Will Johnson suffered an injury, I believe, against Illinois. I don't know how serious it is. I hope it's not serious. But for now, I'm gonna go under the assumption that he's gonna take a slight hit because of that injury. Every cornerback's got injured this year in terms of like the top level guys here in the draft. I'm gonna go with Travis Hunter for the Jaguars. Listen, some people might tell you that Travis Hunter won't play at both sides in the NFL. I'm here to tell you he absolutely will without a shadow of a doubt. I'd bet money on it. I'm not saying he's going to play 100 plus snaps like he does in college. Nobody is doing that. But Travis Hunter, absolutely, whether it's an 80-20 split, whether it's a 70-30 split, he will spend time at both positions. Now, he will certainly specialize on one side of the ball. For the Jaguars, I think it'll be cornerback because they already have a pretty deep receiver room. They have a top three already. Travis Hunter will be in there on certain packages. Um, but he will spend the majority of his time, I believe, at cornerback for the Jaguars. They already have Tyson Campbell, but they let go of Darius Williams for some reason. They have a hole there on that team. So Travis Hunter, I think, comes in, becomes a day one starter on the boundary, opposite side of Tyson Campbell, and hopefully that makes the Jaguars defense more, what's the word, dynamic, helps them produce more takeaways. And I the Jaguars need help in a lot of ways, man. We're probably talking about the coach being fired and a whole bunch of stuff. So they need a superstar like Travis Hunter to direct the attention away from how bad they're doing as a franchise. The Panthers at number four here. This is pretty much a no-brainer for me. I'll let you guys look at the options here. Um, I'm not going quarterback. Maybe I'll explore that in one of these mock drafts, but I think the Panthers deserve to give Bryce Young another shot. Their whole organization has just been a joke so far. I mean, for the last several years, really. They have an opportunity. In this specific situation, I don't think drafting a quarterback fixes your problems, but I do think drafting the best receiver in the entire class, T Mac, Tedoroy McMillan, it gives Bryce Young a better shot. Um, T Mac, a ridiculous combination of size, speed, hands, body movement, adjusting to make the like he is a freak of nature. He is the best receiver in this class, and I am almost confident, like certain, he will be a top five pick. I think if the Panthers draft McMillan and you re-sign Chuba Hubbard, then you got McMillan, Xavier Legette, Mingo's a bust, but you got Jatavian Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, Jonathan Brooks, a not bad run blocking O line. Like if you draft McMillan, then the pressure's on Bryce. Then you cannot say if you draft McMillan, then you can say, okay, we gave Bryce the opportunity. Then we need to move on next draft. By the way, when there's more options for you at quarterback, I just think that's the smart move to do if you're the Panthers. Draft your star franchise receiver, kind of build up the foundation a little more. So if Bryce isn't the guy, then you can draft a guy next year who comes into a much better situation than Bryce came into. Next up, we got the Titans. I'll be honest here, there are a lot of holes on this roster. The Titans can go in a lot of ways. They've spent the last two first round picks on offensive linemen. I don't like the idea of going back to the offensive line here. The question for me right here is receiver or quarterback. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of done with Will Levis. And you can call me a hater because I hated on him before the draft when he came into the league, but it wasn't really hating. It was just me being right. I said he wasn't a first round pick. He was being ridiculously overhyped, and I was right. He did not go draft him in the first round. Um, and I was quick to point out I thought he had a really good game, one really good game against the Falcons in his rookie year, but it's pretty much been all downhill since then. Even Titans fans will be the first to tell you that they've given up on him, and fucking Mason Rudolph looks better. So the Titans have a terrible quarterback situation, and they have no like they didn't spend a first round pick on Will Levis. They're not paying him a lot of money. They have no problem, I would assume, moving on from him. The question would be, would you want the pocket passer, sit back, deadly accurate Shedeur Sanders, or would you want the younger, higher potential, maybe, more mobile guy in Jalen Milroe? You can do more with him. It comes down to what style you like. I think Shedeur Sanders is the better player, the better quarterback, more experienced, more accurate, all that stuff. I'm going to go with Shedeur Sanders at number 5 to the Titans. Maybe I'll explore a non QB scenario for them in the future. But from what I'm seeing right now and from what the Titans fans want, they are ready to move on. And Shedeur Sanders available, I think he is capable and he is talented enough to be drafted in the top 5. Next up, we got the Saints at 6. A lot of directions, a lot of directions. You could go with the Saints here. For a long time, I was thinking about, let's break it down. You could go edge rush. You could go interior defensive line. You could go receiver. You could go offensive line. The Saints, they're a bad team that have a lot of holes. They have been terrible since their amazing 2-0 start. And I, you could go so many directions. Honestly, I like the idea because their offensive line's been pretty fucking shitty lately. I like the idea of drafting the in-state guy whose arms are. I'll look at the analysis for y'all, see what people are doing here. I don't really like these picks right here. I like the idea of keeping the in-state guy whose arms are too short to play tackle, keeping him, kicking him inside the guard, letting him wreak havoc and try and just do something, man. The Saints, they're just not talented enough. And they have one of the highest payrolls in the entire NFL. I think it's time for them to unload some of these older players like Cam Jordan, Tyrann Mathieu, Demario Davis, like kind of move on from these older guys, And I'm not saying Spencer Rattler's the guy, certainly, but if they want to be a good offense, they gotta find ways to improve on the offensive line. And Will Campbell, I think, would be a big addition for them on the interior, most likely. Cardinals at 7. Thing for the Cardinals is if you remember the last draft, they had like 3 picks inside the top 35, and I was trying to think of all the ways that they could spend one of those picks on an interior defensive lineman. I was like, is it Johnny Newton? Is it who's the other guy? Is it Byron Murphy? Like, how are they going to spend one of these 3 first round picks? And they did not draft a single interior defensive lineman with those picks. They drafted a cornerback, an edge rusher, and Marvin Harrison. So I think they have to address that interior D line in this draft. And look at who's sitting right there, Mason Graham, by all accounts, the best defensive player in this entire draft. He's been wreaking havoc at Michigan. I just think it's a no-brainer, really, kind of the easiest pick of the draft so far. The Cardinals' defense sucks. Their run defense, I don't even know for sure. I assume it's bad. It's the fucking Cardinals. So yeah, if that head coach, I forget his name, if he wants to keep his job, he's a defensive guy. He needs to make his defense look good pretty soon. So Mason Graham could go a long ways into doing that. The Raiders here, the Raiders probably have the most dire QB situation in the entire NFL. I mean, they are like pencil it in right now, or pin it in if you want, whatever the most permanent way to write is. The Raiders are drafting a quarterback. The question is, do they do it with this pick, or do they wait and draft kind of the best of who's left at the top of the second round because they have multiple holes? You could see a situation right here where they draft a guy like Ashton Jeanty, since their running back room is so terrible, and then draft quarterback later on. Or you could draft a quarterback here, running back later. I don't know what you do if you're the Raiders. But what I know for sure is that they're going to draft a quarterback, and Jalen Milroe, I think, I don't know, man. Milroe, he's just so inconsistent, man. The highs and the lows, I still believe in him, but man, coming off what he did to Georgia in that first half to what he's looked like lately, it's been really disappointing. He's playing himself out of the top 15 right now, but he needs to turn it around. But I'm kind of making the prediction here that he will turn it around and mix that hopefulness with how bad the Raiders look and how desperate they are for a quarterback. It makes sense to me that the Raiders would maybe even reach on a guy who's not playing so well right now in hopes that he can be the guy for them moving forward. Giants at 9. I won't spend much time talking about this. You may already know where I'm going here. It's not a quarterback. The top three are off the board. I'm not going to break it down, but the rest of the quarterbacks in this class, at least in this mock draft, I am not having any of these guys right here going in the first round. All of these guys have problems. Nussmeier, I mean, I just don't consider him an NFL level arm talent, not mobile whatsoever. Carson Beck is seeing ghost. He is playing himself. He went from like the number one overall pick preseason to fucking undrafted at this point by the end of the year. Quinn Ewers just not. He just doesn't show enough in big games. Miller Moss, are you fucking kidding me? Connor Wigman, are you kidding me? This is looking like a bad quarterback class the further you go down. Jackson Dart, I like. Dylan Gabriel, I like. That's that's pretty much it, man. Cade Klubnik, I don't think he should declare. But yeah, the quarterback class outside this top three, I would steer clear. My personal opinion. The Giants here, I'm going to give them Ashton Jeanty. They lost Saquon Barkley in hilarious fashion. They got shitted on all offseason because of that. They they now are reaping the rewards and not really rewards. They have no run game. So Ashton Jeanty, they might have been the last team to draft a running back in the top 10, and they might have to do it again because Ashton Jeanty is that good. I don't care what anybody says. He's breaking Barry Sanders records at the college football level. He deserves to be a top 10 pick, and he should be a top 10 pick because he could absolutely change life for some team at the next level. The Giants need help desperately. Quarterback, it's just not an option at this point. So give the Giants Ashton Jeanty and see what happens. The Dolphins here. Quarterback, it's an interesting discussion to have. Should Tua retire? Should he keep playing? I think he should retire. It looks like he's going to try and keep playing though. So if that's the case, you have to draft offensive line help to protect him. You let Robert Hunt walk in free agency. Just draft somebody, give him some more help. The question is who. All three of these guys, I believe, are going to play tackle in the NFL. So, I mean, they need help at tackle as well. I'm gonna go with Cam Williams. He just had a really bad game. Matter of fact, I'll go Ursary instead. Cam Williams had a really bad game against Georgia. He was getting cooked. Ariante Ursary from Minnesota. I can't tell you much about him. I haven't done the in-depth research, but he is considered to be a first-round level offensive tackle. And for the Dolphins, a team that really needs help on the O line to protect Tua, make sure he doesn't go fucking brain dead by the end of his career. Tackle seems like a good option for them. Jets at 11. I have no idea. I have no fucking clue what to do in terms of the Jets. I have not looked at this defense. I don't really. It would seem to me that they don't really need help anywhere on defense. I think cornerback Will Johnson just seems like a great option here. Malachi Stark seems like a great option, but I don't really think they really need help on defense like that. Maybe a receiver. If you look at the analysis here, it would appear to me that receiver makes the most sense, and especially when you got a guy like Luther Burden just sitting right there. I know they drafted Malachi Corley last year, and I want to see him get some opportunities, but with Devontae coming in, I just he doesn't seem like he's ever going to really get a chance in New York. Luther Burns sitting right there, he has a much clearer path, I think, with his pedigree and what he's been able to do so far. I could see him earning a pretty big role early on with the Jets. Pair him with Garrett Wilson for the long term. You're talking about something really special there in New York. So I like that pick the more I think about it for New York. The Rams at 12 here. Look at the analysis here. They need help a lot of places. I could even see quarterback, to be honest with you. Offensive line, certainly, I think, could be addressed. But Will Johnson, I don't know what it is. I seem to have him dropping. Every time I do one of these mock drafts, I just can't find a place for him inside the top 10, which is concerning because he is a good player. He could go in the top five, really. He's a really good player at Michigan, a lockdown, shutdown corner with great size and good speed. So it would be a good pick for the Rams. It'd be a steal really to get him at number 12, and you're really building up that defense of guys like Byron Young, Kobe Turner, guys last year, Jared Verse, Fiske. Now you go in the back end with Will Johnson. I like what the Rams are doing with their draft picks so far defensively. And Will Johnson, you hope to add to that, give you a lockdown guy in the secondary because all your corners right now are really old. You know, Darius Williams, Tre'Davious White. Get a young guy in there with some pedigree and hopefully a superstar for them moving forward. The Broncos at 13. I just feel like this has to be a receiver. I know they have holes elsewhere, but when you have a young quarterback, I am of the belief and the opinion that if you have a young quarterback, the entire focus and the direction of that franchise needs to be focused on developing that quarterback and giving him the weapons he needs to succeed. I don't think the Broncos have the weapons right now on offense. I don't think they have enough firepower in terms of receivers. So there's some really good players available, but I would be in the boat of drafting a receiver early on and getting him some more help out there. The question for me is who would it be? Isaiah Bond has top tier speed. He can take the top off of a defense, but I would like more so for the Broncos to give Bo Nix a safety valve, a security blanket per se. Put somebody in a slot like Emeka Egbuka to work around. And Bo Nix loves to get the ball out quickly. Emeka Egbuka, he would catch a lot of quick passes. He would get separation in the short to intermediate range, and he would be a very good and reliable weapon for Bo Nix. So I like that matchup there for Emeka Egbuka. And by the way, Sean Payton drafted Michael Thomas from Ohio State before, and he worked a lot in the slant, in the slot, a lot of short intermediate routes. I could see Egbuka being the next mini Michael Thomas in the Sean Payton offense. Moving on. The Cowboys at 14, man, what don't the Cowboys need? Honestly, you could make the case for just about anything. Running back, O line, receiver, defense, corner. Like man, it's a lot of the Cowboys need a lot. I don't even think they could fix all their defensive problems with just this one pick. I see Kenneth Grant Sinton here available at number 14, and I don't mind it. But what I really think if you're gonna try and just fix the Cowboys with one pick in this first round, I feel like the goal would to be drafting a stud edge rusher to pair alongside Micah Parsons. It feels like DeMarcus Lawrence just gets less and less productive every year. I think he actually had a pretty good start this year, but he's hurt right now. I don't think he has much time left in his NFL career. I would like the Cowboys to draft a potential stud and pair him alongside Micah Parsons and let him wreak havoc. Mykel Williams just had a great game against Texas. I think Mykel Williams has a lot of upside, maybe the next even Trayvon Walker in terms of his raw athleticism and potential. I think drafting Mykel Williams gives you the possibility to have a dominant edge rushing duo, and that can make up for a lot of other holes in your defense. I think that would be the mindset here for the Cowboys taking Mykel Williams. The Eagles at 15. The Eagles here, they're a good roster. They're a good roster. They don't really have many holes. I just don't like they spend every first round pick, it feels like, on their front seven. They have a bunch of young players that need to wait and develop. I don't like the idea of just adding another guy into that mix and, taking snaps away from their other guys who need to play and develop. They still need Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Nakobe Dean. They still need these guys to, play, and drafting another guy, throwing him into that room, that takes away from that. So I'm not going to give the Eagles front seven in this particular mock draft. I'm going to give them Malachi Starks. I know they have right now. They got Reed Blankenship, who for some reason is their best safety. That's not hate. It's just you never would have thought that really. And they got Sidney Brown sitting and waiting. And no disrespect, but I'm not passing up on Malachi Starks because of Sidney Brown, respectfully. Um, Avonte Maddox, I think he already got cut. Malachi Starks can play in the nickel. CJ Gardner Johnson, he's on a 1 year contract and he's been bad. So he's out the door next year. The Eagles, I think they really need some help in the secondary. I don't even think Bradbury has played this year. He's probably on his way out the door. Malachi Starks is a good safety. He can play nickel, you know, still kick out up top and play that traditional safety role. I think the Eagles need some help. If you go defense, I would go secondary, and particularly safety. So Malachi Starks obviously has the Georgia connection, and he's the best safety in this class. So I like that. That's a sleep. I don't think many people are going to mock Malachi Starks to the Eagles, but I like that pick. Niners at 16 here. They're 3-4. They're 3-4. We could really be talking about the Niners drafting in like the top 15 for the first time in a long time. The question is, what do you draft? I don't know, man. They have so many like positions that you don't usually consider them being not good in. I think tackle though is probably where you want to go, especially considering there are options available. Like for example, we have we have Cam Williams just sitting right here. I know he had a bad game. Maybe you go Josh Simmons instead. I'm not really sure here, but I'll give him Cam Williams at Texas. He has the raw physical tools, the size, the length, everything you want out of a tackle, projecting to the next level. I guess just do your best to protect Brock Purdy, even though he's played. I mean, the whole Niners, it's just such a weird situation why they aren't winning games. But yeah, draft a tackle, protecting Brock Purdy, and the long term, even like Trent Williams. I mean, how old is he? He's like 38, 39. He can't have more than like 1 year left. So they need to start thinking about their long term plans to tackle. Cam Williams makes those thoughts a little easier, I would assume. Bengals at 17 here. This is going to be a pretty easy pick for me. The Bengals defense has just looked completely different since they lost DJ Reader. They drafted Chris Jenkins in the second round last year out of Michigan, interior defensive lineman. I like that. How about pairing him with his former teammate, Kenneth Grant, and creating a new tandem, a new yet old tandem of defensive linemen from Michigan to Ohio, Cincinnati, and trying to shore up the interior of that defensive line, making it look like it used to with guys like Geno Atkins in there. I like that a lot at 17 for the Bengals. My Seahawks at number 18 here. What do the Seahawks do? Let's talk about what they're not going to do. They're not going to draft quarterback. They're not going to draft running back. They're not going to draft receiver. They're not going to draft. Well, you could really make the case for just about everything else. I would make the argument as a Seahawks fan that we need help on the offensive line, whether it's tackle or guard. I don't know what's going to happen with Abraham Lucas. It feels like he hasn't played an entire fucking year. Um, we started a sixth round rookie from Finley at right tackle, and he played pretty good today, actually. We had probably our best offensive game of the year against the Falcons today. I was there, I watched it. What do we do? I really wouldn't mind corner, but all the top guys. I mean, linebacker, maybe. I'm probably gonna do a different pick for the Seahawks in every single mock draft. I think what I would be the most happy with though is offensive line. Protecting Geno, opening up more run lanes. It has to happen. I'm gonna go with Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. Maybe he doesn't have the potential of some of these other guys, but the upside, or not the upside, the uh the consistency, more of a low floor or a high floor, low ceiling type of pick. I'm not asking for this guy to be a Pro Bowler. I'm just asking for us to draft an offensive lineman who can start and not be terrible and can block in the run game. That's all I'm asking for here. With the number 18 pick, I feel like we have to find somebody there. It has to be available. So I would love the Seahawks to do that at number 18. The Bears at 19 here. More of the same. I think the goal is protecting Caleb Williams. I don't think they need more help at receiver. Let's look here. Running back, I really wouldn't mind either. I'm gonna go with Emory Jones out of LSU. I have not looked at his measurables to see if they're different than his teammate, but I've heard good things about Emory Jones. I have a lot. There's a lot of tackles. I think there's a lot of tackles are going to go off the board here in the first round. Emory Jones protect, like I said, same thing with Bo Nix and the Broncos. Your entire focus, if you're the Bears, has to be protecting Caleb Williams and making sure he can develop like properly and not have to worry about pressure on every single play. They look good so far, especially defensively. Emory Jones, I like that pick for the Bears. Colts at 20. This is kind of a no-brainer, and I'll let you know what you guys can see why. Benjamin Morrison, unfortunately, he just suffered a season-ending injury on Notre Dame. I don't know how it's going to affect his draft stock, but the Colts, I'm sure they would love to keep him in town in Indianapolis from Notre Dame to the Colts. I'll go with it. He's a good player. He's a really, really good player. If you just watch the film, he is the definition of lockdown. Um, and the Colts need help at secondary. They have a couple guys starting out there that you probably have never even heard of. So Benjamin Morrison to help out the Colts secondary, I like it. I know the Colts fans like it, but his injury concerns me. I have to see how he looks maybe at the combine if he's able to make it back for that. Bills at 21. I'm going to go receiver here. I know that they did just pick up Amari Cooper, and I like that, but it might be a 1 year rental because of his contract situation. The pick I'm going to go with here is Isaiah Bond, the speedster out of Texas. Isaiah Bond, I'll say this. I think he's a little overrated. Besides just being a vertical threat, strictly speed, I haven't really seen that much from him. He wasn't the most productive guy at Alabama and has not been the most productive guy so far at Texas either. I'm kind of waiting for him to just I feel like if you have that kind of speed and that kind of ability at the college level, you dominate a little bit more than he has. So I'm still kind of waiting to see what the hype is with Isaiah Vaughn. I know he's fast, but what else does he do? I'm waiting to see that. But listen, fast will play, and fast, fast clearly fast will get you drafted in the first round in the NFL. The Bills are desperate for help at receiver. Keon Coleman's not been bad so far. Bringing Amari Cooper, I think you still need more help there. So draft Isaiah Vaughn at the number 21 pick. Chargers, sorry, at 22. This is also a no-brainer. I'll let you think why. Jim Harbaugh has proven he is not afraid to bring in Michigan guys, and I think more of the same here for the Chargers. Don't get me wrong. I think they will definitely address the defensive line eventually in this draft, but Colston Loveland's been available, or he is available. It's this is my problem. It's so weird with Colston Loveland because Michigan can't throw the football, so he almost never gets to showcase how good he is. He might finish the year with like 300 yards, and everybody's going to be like, "What? A first round tight end with 300 yards. Michigan cannot throw the ball. It's not his fault. Like it's like playing. It's like he was playing in fucking Air Force or something. If they can't get him the ball, then it's not because he's a bad player. It's because they can't throw the fucking football. So Colston Loveland, I think Harbaugh's going to show him some love and pick him up in the first round. Tight end is not a massive need for the chart. Like Will Disley's been pretty good for them, but long term, getting a guy who knows this offense, plays well in this offense, I think Colston Loveland could do some big things reuniting with Jim Harbaugh in LA. Buccaneers at 23. I don't know why tight end is a need. I think Tate Ottens played pretty well. Cornerback certainly could be an option, but I don't love what is there at this particular junction. Pass rush, yeah, yeah, I could see pass rush here. Let's look a little bit here. Let's look at the options here. Edge rusher. You know, I like Nick Scorton a lot. He's been a game wrecker at A&M. I'll give him Nick Scorton. Came from Purdue to A&M. He's blown up a couple games already. Buccaneers, they already got guys like Yaya Diaby. But I'd like for somebody to emerge in that group as just a Pro Bowl level player. I think adding Nick Scorton would certainly give you the possibility of one of those guys emerging. So Buccaneers get a guy who looks NFL ready, to be honest. Like Nick Scorton, when you watch him, he looks like he could be playing on Sundays already. So Buccaneers at 23, I think that's really good value. The first real pure edge rusher off the board besides Michael Williams. Packers at 24. It feels like they draft front seven every year. You know, Devontae Wyatt or Devontae Wyatt, Quay Walker, Lucas Van Ness. I'm not going to give him D line. I'm going to go cornerback here. And I know I just said I don't love what the cornerbacks are looking like right now because Siobhan Revel has a great combination of size and speed, but he just suffered an ACL injury that cut his season short. How will that affect his draft stock? I have no fucking clue. But the Eric Stokes situation has not worked out for the Packers. He is probably going to be gone after this year. So I think they need somebody else there, obviously, playing cornerback. So give Siobhan Rivers a shot here. He has unteachable traits physically. So I'm sure the Packers will not be mad at his upside. Commanders here, a lot of holes for the Commanders. The defense is just not good. They could go cornerback. I think pass rush, though. I think pass rush is what is looking like the best option for me. I'm going to go with Abdul Carter out of Penn State. Not the DMV, but Penn State to DC. That's not a very far trip at all. They just need help at pass rush. The guys they brought in have not looked great. I mean, Frankie Louvu had a big game, I think, but they brought in the guy, is it Dorrance Armstrong from Dallas? I don't think he's played so well so far. They traded away Montez Sweat. They got rid of Chase Young. They don't really have anybody else kind of waiting there in terms of young guys developing, getting better year after year. Abdul Carter could be the guy for them that comes in, and now they finally have somebody who's very twitchy, gets off the edge fast, and has some type of upside, long term. Pittsburgh at 26. It's going to be receiver for me. Now, if you look here, most of these guys are off the board already. Mecca, Isaiah Bond, Luther Burden. Um, If you look at that Alec Ironmaner over there, I don't have any problems with Ironmaner, but the type of receiver he is, big body sideline, they already got that in George Pickens. I'm gonna go a different direction. And I'm going to show love to a guy who deserves it. Xavier Restrepo has been an absolute monster for the Hurricanes this year. He's breaking Michael Irvin type records over there. He's been amazing. He works miracles out of the slot. He's extremely shifty, ridiculous hands, fast as shit for I don't he looks like Puerto Rican or something. But I think Steelers need more help in the slot. I don't think they need big body guys outside. I would like to see them draft a guy who's going to allow whoever the quarterback is to get the ball out quickly. So Xavier Restrepo definitely does that for your offense, and that could be a match made in heaven. Restrepo to the Steelers. Next up, Falcons at 27. It's D line. Trust me, I just watched the game. The Falcons have next to no pass rush. The Seahawks have a terrible offensive line. If you can't sack Geno 5+ times, you don't have a pass rush. The Falcons didn't do that. They don't have a pass rush. They need help. And who's the guy? A couple options here. I'm gonna go with a guy who just had a monster game in real life, and that is where is he listed as a stand-up linebacker? Jalen Walker from Georgia. Keep the first time they've drafted a Georgia player, and who knows how long. Jalen Walker just had a masterful game against Texas. He certainly is going to be shooting up draft boards. Keep him in state. Let him stand. Let him play in coverage. Let him come off the edge. Send him off design pressures up the middle. I like the potential of Jalen Walker to the Falcons being a game wrecker in GA. Vikings just lost their first game. Who they draft here? Corner, certainly, I think, you know, unfortunately, Kyrie Jackson passed away this offseason. He was supposed to be their young guy, kind of waiting in the wings there. They no longer have that there. Interior offensive line, I don't mind. Running back, I don't mind. I know Aaron Jones has looked good, but you need somebody else besides him. He's kind of an older guy. Not older, but he's very experienced. I'm not sure. I'm not sure for the Vikings. I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go offensive because that helps out the pass game, the run game, everything. All the above. Interior though, offensive line here. Is it Tyler Booker? Is Tyler Booker just the best guy? I heard somewhere that this guy, Jonah Savanaia, don't know how to say that fucking name. I heard he is the best prospect at interior offensive line at the next level from Arizona. I'll take him at his word. I'll give the Vikings the first real interior guy off the board so far at 28. Ravens at 29. This also has to be offensive line for me. The question is who. They have too many young, no-name starters on that offensive line for a good team. Who do they draft here? Let me pull it up real quick. It could be interior or tackle, by the way. I'm not going to discriminate. I'll give them, not really sure to be honest here. Who do we think the best guy is? I'll give them whoever the top guy is. Wyatt Milam. I'll give him the Ravens. He probably could start for the Ravens. That's all I know. So I'll give the Ravens some help on the offensive line. It's kind of just the obvious situation. I guess you could go cornerback, but I don't love the options right now. Lions at 30. Let me pitch this scenario to you. The Lions have a really old starter at right guard right now. He will be gone after this year, I think. So they need help at the offensive line. The Lions' strength this whole team is the offensive line. So you got to keep that intact. Tyler Booker to the Lions. Let me break down the under the radar Alabama to Detroit pipeline. You got Jamison Williams. You got Jahmyr Gibbs. You got Terry and Arnold. You got Brian Branch. All in like the last 2 or 3 years, the Lions have spent first and second round picks on those guys. I think that could continue here with Tyler Booker to the Lions in the first round to help build up that interior offensive line. Texas at 31. I think they also I think they also need help on the offensive line. The question is who? Who's the best guy available right now? Take your pick. I mean, CJ Stroud, he just gets hit way too fucking much, bro. It's tough to watch. Who's the best guy? You guys tell me. I have no fucking clue. Let's just take the top guy who's listed as a guard. The Texans need help, man. Texans need to keep CJ Stroud upright. They have not done a good job at that, even though they're 5-2. So Chiefs at 32 here. What do you do if you're the Chiefs? I know Kareem Hunt's back there. Pacheco, this is my thing with the Chiefs. I think if the Chiefs really want to maintain this dynasty for as long as possible, they have to avoid giving out bad contracts. What I mean by that is if you overpay for one guy long term, that really could cripple you in the long run. For example, they chose to not pay L'Jarius Sneed, who probably deserved that contract, but they knew if they made him the highest paid cornerback in the NFL and probably NFL history, that would have really crippled what they could do with their money moving forward. So they decided to get rid of a really good player and just try and replace him with the next guy up. I think they could do that with Isaiah Pacheco at running back. Now, obviously, you don't have to pay a running back as much as you have to pay a cornerback, but it's an unnecessary contract extension when you can just sit here at number 32 and draft a guy in Omarion Hampton, who I think would be an absolute monster behind the Chiefs' offensive line, just a real thumper. The definition of consistency. I love Omarion Hampton as a prospect this year because he does all the right things. It does not matter how good the team around him is. You know for a fact he's going to come to play and he is going to just if he goes to the right team, and but believe me, the Chiefs would be the right team. If he goes to the right team, he is just going to continue his run and go on a rampage at the next level. So that's my mock draft 1.0. That was a really good. I think I gave some real in-depth analysis there for every team. So yeah, man. Leave a like if you're talking too fast. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Thank you for watching. I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.